everybody, and welcome back. We're going to be working this week in math on our skip counting. Skip counting is super important for the kids to learn because it is the thing that they need for money, counting money, and for telling time, and just for basic number sense, seeing the patterns in math, and being able to count by 2s, 5s, and 10s is a really important skill. So we're going to focus on that all week long, okay? So here are the things we're going to do. We're going to be working with our build the fence. We're going to be using our muffin tins. We're going to be using our hundreds chart, number line, and we have a few more artistic things to do: straw beads number line, Q-tip paint number line, and handprint. Okay, so as far as building a fence, everybody should have gotten one of these. It should be in your math folder, build the fence. And if you haven't already, put a nice plastic sheet protector in there. And they're going to start just by counting by ones. It's always going to start with counting by ones, and then 2s, and then 5s, and then 10s. So for this one, you're going to need your build the fence, and you're going to need your popsicle sticks and some colored dry erase markers, okay? So they're going to start first by just counting by ones. So they're going to be putting the popsicle sticks on their fence in any order, but we're making sure that they're all individual. We don't want to double them up at all while we're counting by ones, okay? So it's going to look like this. And then when they're done doing this by ones, oops, I had 2 in a row there. You want to make sure you just have 1 in a row. And they are going to use their dry erase markers to write 1 to 20 here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 20, okay? When they're done with this part, they're actually going to be coloring it in. I think everybody got a few of these colored dry erase markers, so I'm going to make 1 of each kind. We're starting with ones, so they can be random as long as they're not doubled up, and then they count by ones. I'm going to put a little purple one on here next. Okay, so this is counting by ones. That is the first step. After that, they're going to do the same thing, counting by 2s, by 5s, and 10s. So here I go. I'm going to do by 2s to show you really quick. 2 of purples, got 2 yellows, and 2 greens, etc. And you're going to have them write counting by 2s on the top of their fence. 2, 4, 6, and they're going to keep going. 8, 10, all the way to 20. Okay, so, and then when they're done with the popsicle stick part, then they color in with the dry erase markers. So they're going to go ahead and do the same thing. And they're counting by 2s. All right. So they're going to do that with their 1s, 2s, 5s, and 10s, using their build a fence. And that is the first activity. So we're also going to be working with our muffin tins, or if you don't have any muffin tins, you can use empty egg cartons. So this is basically, we're using our glass blobs and our muffin tins for this. And they're just going to be starting with just counting by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I really love this muffin tin and the glass blobs because it adds an auditory component, which any kind of ways that we can build in different senses in working with these numbers is just one more way for them to be able to internalize the material. So for 2s, it would sound like this, right? They would have to hear it. So they're going to do that with 1s, 2s, 5s, and 10s. And they can use their number line or they can use their hundreds chart to guide them in their counting, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They can use either the number line or the hundreds chart to guide them in counting their glass blobs in their muffin tins, okay? So they're going to do this for 1s, 2s, 5s, and 10s with the muffin tins, okay? So with the hundreds chart, there's a lot of things we can do with skip counting with the hundreds chart. So you're going to want to take out your hundreds chart and your blank hundreds chart. I'm hoping at this point that everybody has a complete hundreds chart. And they're going to be using their glass blobs and their dry erase markers for this one. So they're going to be starting by just putting 1 on each. And they're going to count. They can either count to 10, they can count to 20, or they can count to 30 by 1s. And then they're going to write that on their hundreds chart, their blank hundreds chart. So I'm practicing writing to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. They can use the glass blobs for this. Another way you can do it is using the dry erase marker for this. So circling each one, counting by 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. And then they're going to do the same thing with 2s, 5s, and 10s. Okay, so they're going to use their glass blobs to count by 2s. To 20 or 30. And then they're going to write this on their hundreds chart as well. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on, however far they can go with that, depending on where they're at. And then they're also going to do the same thing with the hundreds chart. So they're circling 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and with their guidance, you can continue on down with your guidance. And they can start to see these patterns emerge. So they're circling, they're doing the glass blobs, and then they're writing it on the blank hundreds chart. Okay. So the next thing they're going to do is they're going to be working with their number lines. So with their dry erase marker number lines, here's what that's going to look like. So they have their dry erase marker number line just like this, and they're going to be putting their glass blobs on the plain, just 1 to 10, or you can go 1 to 20, going with single counting. And at this point, this is a good time for them to have a piece of blank paper so they can start writing these things with paper and pencil too, because we always want to have the paper and pencil component. So with the number line, they're going to put their glass blobs on each number to count by 1s. They're going to do the same thing and go ahead and write it down, counting 1 to 20, okay? So here's what that would look like. All right. So there's always going to be a hands-on component, and there's always going to be a paper pencil component when we're skip counting. So the first one would be just counting by ones, practicing writing, and if they need you to highlight that for them, that is absolutely fine. Working on writing their numbers correctly. So I'm highlighting for them to trace. And they're writing their numbers, counting by ones up to 20, or you can do 30, wherever they're at with their focus at that moment. Okay, so that's going to be how they use the number line, and then they'll go on to doing by twos, counting by twos. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. And then they're going to write it down. They're going to write it kind of big. Make sure it's nice and clear. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, etc. And then they can trace. Okay. So another way to use this number line with the glass blobs, after you've done it in ones, twos, fives, and tens, so you can use the glass blobs as a visual now on the number line, where they would put 1 here, 2 here, and they're making it go up. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, make a column of glass blobs going up from the number line like this, and they're able to see some patterns emerge. So that would be going single digit up to 20. I'm making a row of 5 above the 5 on my number line. And so on. And then when they've done that with the single digits, they're going to do that with double digits. Counting by twos now. So we're going to have a row of 2 above it. We're going to go to the 4, and we're going to put a row of 4 glass blobs above it. And they're going to do a row of 6. And so on. And then they're also going to be practicing writing it again with the paper and pencil. All right. So here are some other ways for them to learn about skip counting. So one of them is they are going to be creating some learning tools that we're going to be using going forward. So they're going to be making their skip counting number lines. And the way they're doing that is they're using a skewer. They're going to need their straws. They're going to need a little bit of masking tape. And we are going to be making a number line by twos, by fives, and by tens. So they're going to just start by taking one of their skewers, and with the masking tape, we're just going to put this on the end so that your little straw beads won't fall off. Just a little piece like this on the end so that our straw beads stay on. Okay, so this something like this on the end. And they are going to start using their straws and their scissors to create some beads. Okay, so I have a new trick with that. So when I'm cutting my straws, I do it like this so you can see. Because otherwise they just go flying. So you might have just regular straws like this. But if you've already been using your straws like I have and doing some cutting of the straws already, I have a little bag of partial straws here that I'm going to start with if I still have some of those left. And the way I'm going to cut is I'm just going to put my cup like this, and I'm going to put my scissors and straw inside. 1, 2. And then that way they don't fly around. So they're going to be start making their patterns by 2s. Okay, what other color can I do now? I'm going to do purple next. And these cuts are on the smaller side, about 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing that until I've reached 20. Okay, so they're going to do that by 2s, 5s, 10s, and 20s, using their straws and their scissors to create these learning tools that we are going to be working with later on. So they're going to be making these, right? Another thing they're going to be doing is they're going to be making some number lines using their tempera paint. So you're going to take, actually I think this would be really nice on a piece of construction paper because the colors will really pop that way. But basically you're going to make some lines. I just used my dry erase number line to guide me, and I made a few straight lines going down my paper. And with my Q-tips, I always keep 1 Q-tip for each color, and so they don't get mixed up. So I have my Q-tips here. I poured a little bit of paint inside the lids of my tempera paints. That's just one way to do it so you don't get too much. But you are starting like that. I should have a piece of paper underneath this, so make sure your table is nice and protected. So we're going to just start by 1s. Because if you do this with the colored construction paper, these can start to look really beautiful. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to do singles all the way across. And I want you to leave enough space between them so that when you're done, you're going to write the number above it. You're going to be counting again. And it would look something like this. Once it dries, they're writing there. And you can write the numbers, and they can trace, and they can use the markers, colored markers, to write the numbers, and then they have like a really nice looking colored number line. I'm going to use purple for some of these, etc. And then the next line I'm going to do by 2s. So I'm going to go by 2s, 2 greens. And you can do any number, any kind of combination as long as they're doubled up. Okay, like that. And then after that, they're going to be writing their numbers by 2s, putting a 2 on top of those numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. Okay, and then going back over it with the marker. And it's starting to look really interesting now. So now we're going to do 5s. So I would put 5 blobs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so on. And then you're going to put your 5 here, 10 here, and then I'll go back over it with the marker, And then these can be visual references for them when they put it up on their wall when they're finished. They can always go to that reference to help them remembering the different skip counting combinations. So I would go ahead and do the same thing for 10. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you'll have room for 10 or 20, maybe 30, and then they're going to be writing 10 above it. And then once they're done with that, they can go back down and do ones again. So with the construction paper, this is going to start to look really beautiful. So I'm going to do ones again. So I'm just going to go ahead and do one of each color. And then having enough lines to do another pattern. Now we're doing twos again, and so on. So they're practicing ones, twos, fives, and tens with their tempera and their Q-tips, and this would look really nice on a piece of construction paper. Okay, so that is another one of their skip counting activities. So this next one is really fun. So here's what we do with this one. You're going to get another piece of construction paper. And you're going to have your paints, your tempera paints, and make sure you have some paper down. But we're going to be doing these handprints. And this is going to be another visual reference because you're going to be labeling 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And so they may need some help with this, but basically this is what's going to happen. This could be a little too much sensory input for some, which is fine if they don't, sometimes they feel like it's a little messy and gooey. Basically here's what they're going to do. With your help, they're going to paint their hand, and I would just recommend using the Q-tip and using plenty of layers so it's going to imprint really well. Make sure it's nice and thick. And for this one, I'm going to just color all my fingers a different color using the Q-tip. And we're doing one hand at a time. And you can start with your left hand, and you're putting it all over your hand, even in the center. And plenty of it. Make sure it's nice and thick. And it's starting to look like that. Now I'm going to put some orange on. And we're going to be practicing skip counting by fives, using this as a visual guide for you. Let's see what I put on last. I think I'll put some yellow. So fill your entire hand. And then you're going to have them, should look something like that. And then you're going to press down. Don't go too wide. Well, their hands are a little smaller, so you're going to press down and press the fingers down, press the fingers down, and press the thumb, and then press the middle of your hand down, and then push it really good. And when it comes up, it'll look like this. So that's just 3 of my fingers. I didn't do them all. But basically, and what you can do afterwards is if there's some blank spots, like for me, I have some blank spots here. I'm just going to go back over with my Q-tip and finish filling it in. So I key. All right. So it's going to look something like that. So you're going to do both hands. You do one hand, you wash your hands, and then you're going to paint the other hand and then print it. Okay? And so you'll have two handprints, and when they are dry, you can put your counting by fives. 25. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go wash my hands, and I hope you enjoy our skip counting for this week. I think we've got a lot of fun things to learn.